Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar. We want to welcome you to the PSE Ready webinar to support the use of the PSE Ready tools. Again, we're so happy that you were able to join us today to teach you how to use the PSE Ready, which we would like for you to use and help support your community nutrition work. Now, while there are a number of PSE topic areas, our project, the BCOP project, focuses on 4, and that's going to be healthy eating and childcare, farm to school, healthy food retail, and the farmers markets, which we will use today to walk us through the website and the tools it houses. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First, we would like to acknowledge the BCOP partnership, which was established in 2014 to support community nutrition and public health practitioners such as yourselves develop, implement, and sustain PSE interventions. To quickly introduce ourselves, my name is Jennifer King, and I am the Research Associate for BCOP. Karen Valeris, the project coordinator for BCOP, and I will be presenting the last part of this 4-part webinar series. Feel free to reach out to us at bcop@case.edu if you have any questions or concerns after today's training. Here's a quick look at the rest of our colleagues who make up the BCOP team at Case Western Reserve University, Ohio State University SNAP Ed program, and the Ohio Department of Health's Creating Healthy Communities program. So during the registration process, we ask you to identify your service area. And we see that majority of you serve Central Ohio. From that data, we were also able to see that about 10% of those who registered for today's webinar have the luxury of serving all of Ohio. Now, whether you are new or know a little bit about the PSE Ready tool, we want to make sure that we share some useful acronyms with you. But given your positions, we know it's likely not the first time that you have heard them. So you've already heard me mention BCOP, which is the Building Capacity for Obesity Prevention. And that's the name of the project that we are working on. Next, we have PSE, which stands for Policy, System, and Environmental Interventions. And lastly, we have PSE Ready, which is the PSE Readiness Assessment and Decision Instrument, which is the tool the website is named after. However, the website itself houses many other tools, which we will explore today, again, highlighting farmers markets. Now, before we jump into the webinar, we would like to go over some housekeeping guidelines. During the webinar, your speakers will be muted, meaning that we cannot hear you, but you are encouraged to use either the chat or Q&A features to communicate with us. By clicking on either of these icons on the Zoom navigation bar, a window will open up on your screen, and one of us will respond and help you troubleshoot any issues that you're having. Also, we want to make sure that if you have a PSEReady.org account that you log in, because that's how we'll be navigating the site together. And if you have not yet registered for an account, a link has been provided in the chat box for you to do so. When you are setting up an account, we advise that you use an email address that you check often, because the system will send your confirmation email there. The webinar is being recorded and will be available to view in the near future. Now, lastly, please note that while your screen will mirror ours, images may be affected by the screen size and/or dimensions of your personal device. Should you have any connectivity issues, please use the Zoom information that was posted in the chat box for your reference. You can also give us a call at the number on the screen and we can help you troubleshoot. Now, before we get started, we would like to learn a little more about you. I'm going to go ahead and activate our first poll. Okay. So the first poll is going to ask about what types of farmers market PSE initiatives you are currently working on. And I'm going to give about a minute or so to allow all of our attendees to vote. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. Oh, I see a couple of votes coming in. Okay, 5 seconds. All righty, so we're gonna go ahead and close our poll, and I'm gonna share the results with you all. And we can see that a lot of you are using so many different ways of doing PSEs in your work. And we know that from this list, it's certainly not an exhaustive list of initiatives, but we are really excited for you to have shared this with us, and we definitely encourage you to continue to share what you're doing at your farmers market. So if there's something on this list that you all do at your farmers market, please be sure to share with everyone, both the panelists and the attendees in the chat box. Okay, so just to continue, we want you to know that our work builds on the University of Minnesota's extension systems approaches for healthy communities, which we found to be a really great resource to help you understand the context of PSEs and how many of you are already using them in your work, which we just saw in our poll. Additionally, a resource that really complements the work not only for the BCOP project, but for Minnesota, is one that you all may be familiar with, which is the SnapEd Toolkit. It houses an interactive map that you can use to explore more about PSE approaches in the faith-based community, school and community gardens, retail, work with farmers, and of course, farmers markets. We certainly encourage you to check out these resources to further support your PSE work. So by the end of this webinar, we hope that you are able to become familiar with the website and its resources, learn how to take an assessment and use the tailored report. And we want you to please note that these are really umbrella objectives, and that as each webinar has highlighted a different PSE area, these are really encompassing of what we would like for you to be able to do with the PSEReadi.org website and tool. Now, to briefly review the agenda for today's 1-hour webinar, Karen will help you navigate through the website, which includes a resource library of over 1,000 tools, guides, and handouts. She will review our PSEs in action video and will walk through an assessment. This is going to be followed by my review of a tailored PSE Ready report and recommendations. We will leave the rest of the time for Q&A, which we encourage you to send in any questions that you may be having, and then we will certainly respond to those during the Q&A session. So to kick us off, Karen will now get us started.
Good morning, everyone. As Jennifer mentioned, my name is Karen, and I'll be walking through the different tools that we have on the PSE Ready website and how you can best use them in your work. So as we all know, every one of our communities that we work in are all different, and because they're different, their capacity and their readiness to change will also differ. So the PSEReadi.org website was created with this in mind to support community nutrition programs in diverse areas across Ohio. So we wanted to really create a website that takes into account that one intervention does not fit all communities and all circumstances. So we hope that by using the PSE Ready website, you'll have a chance to assess, to plan, and to act based on your local community readiness and capacity. Our ultimate goal is to support efforts across Ohio to help people make the healthy choice the easy choice for lower income populations. So as we recommended everyone to do before attending today's webinar, we're going to be using our case study video to guide our website review. And the video that we'll be using is entitled Perceptions of a Community-Based Farmers Market. We're not going to play the video today. If you have some time and you haven't had a chance to watch it before, you can watch it after the webinar. And I'll just briefly walk through what happened in the video. In the video, we met different farmers market vendors at the Gateway 105 Farmers Market in Cleveland, Ohio, where they spoke about the community feeling at home at their market, and they spoke about some of the ways that they engaged their shoppers and the ways that they interacted with community members. So I'd like to ask you now, what are some of the ways that you've created a sense of community at your local farmers market? And you can answer in the chat box below. If you'd like everyone to see your responses, just remember to click that you want all panelists and attendees to see your responses. Okay, great. So we're having some responses come in. Someone mentioned having cooking demos, free nutrition information, sharing recipes, and taste testing of the produce, which are all really great ways to engage farmers market attendees and shoppers. Another one of our attendees mentioned bringing community ambassadors to the market to show people around and highlighting vendors and sharing recipes. So that's another great way to increase engagement at your market and to also create a sense of community. Having community members from the community in which you work to encourage others to use the market resources and to access the different produce and to create a sense of community is a great way to increase your engagement. Okay, so someone else mentioned ask a farmer, where a farmer or farmer's staff make themselves available for community garden questions, which is a really great way to, and a very creative way to also increase engagement and to also help people figure out where their food comes from and what the process is behind growing their food that they see at the farmer's market, which is a really cool way to do that. Someone else mentioned that they're working on setting up local farmers markets. And in doing so, they're having community meetings and sending out invites to local farmers to attend those meetings. So that's another great way to get everyone involved in establishing a local farmers market, to have everyone at the table to have those conversations. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. It's really nice to see the different ways that you're establishing community at your market. So as we saw in our videos, the vendors also use their time to encourage and educate customers about the produce and to try different types of fruits and vegetables and to provide an experience that encourages the community members to buy more fresh fruits and vegetables, especially those that they may not have had before. So what are some of the ways that you've educated customers about the produce at your local farmers market? So some of our attendees have mentioned cooking demos, free nutrition information, and having samples out. So are there any other ways that you've encouraged or you've educated your customers about your produce, particularly new ones that you're offering?
And again, remember, when you are responding, just to make sure that everyone can see your response, in the chat box, you'll see that it says to. Make sure that it says all panelists and attendees. That way, your colleagues can see everything that you're sharing with us.
Thanks for that reminder, Jennifer. Okay, so we're seeing that someone mentioned having fun facts about the produce, which is a really great way to educate your customers about the different produce that you offer at your farmers market. Produce seasonality calendars, what's available during each month of the year, is a really great way to educate your customers, especially about the different benefits about eating different local and fresh fruits and vegetables, depending on the availability of that time of year. Another attendee mentioned giving handouts that list when different items are available in Ohio. Some people expect homegrown tomatoes in May and are disappointed when they don't see them. That's another really great way to educate your customers about the different produce that are offered. University of Nebraska Extension's nutrition education programs, fruits and veggie fact sheets. So we're seeing a lot of fact sheets, we're seeing a lot of handouts, fun facts, produce seasonality calendars, sharing that you can use fresh fruits and fresh and frozen produce as an option is also another great way to educate your customers, especially when they're looking for certain fruits and vegetables that might not be in season at that time. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. So keeping all of these in mind, we're going to explore the website and its tools through the lens of the farmers market vendors we met in our video. So today I'll be walking through our website's features, including our extensive resource library, our PSEs in Action video series, and the PSE Ready assessments currently available in the 4 topic areas that Jennifer mentioned before, which are healthy eating and childcare, farmers market, healthy food retail, and farm to school. Later on, Jennifer will speak more about how to use the PSE Ready reports that you get from completing the assessments and how you can help and how they can help guide your immediate next steps in your PSE programming. So before I continue, I just also want to remind everyone that we really want this training to be interactive. So if you have any questions or any tips that you want to share during the webinar, please use the chat feature. Again, make sure that you're clicking all panelists and attendees so that we can all see your wonderful responses, and we'll answer them as soon as we can if you do have a question. Okay, so what we currently see right now is the landing page for our website. So for our website walkthrough today, you can either follow along in your accounts to help get firsthand experience navigating the PSEReady.org website and its tools, or you can just watch today's webinar and then use the video recording to help you navigate the site later on. So from our landing page, you can decide which page you'd like to explore. Regardless of where you are on the website, you can always come back to this main page by clicking on the BCOP logo at the top of each page. So using our case study example video, let's say one of the farmers market managers wanted to find new ways to recruit more community-based growers to sell at the Gateway 105 farmers market. Or maybe one of the vendors wanted to find new ways to educate community members about the produce they sell at their stand. They could use PSEReady.org to help them find new ways to do so. So first, we're going to look through the resource library and see what we can find there by clicking on PSE resources at the top of our page. So this is our landing page for the PSE resource library. The PSE resource library is a large collection of web-based tools, websites, and other resources that we've gathered in one location to help you working in community nutrition environments to easily find resources that may be helpful in your work. In the PSE library main page, you'll see several features. First, you'll see that we have our navigation panel that's broken down into different our different PSE topic areas. So if you click on the select topic portion of the navigation bar, you'll be able to see the 4 topic areas that we currently specialize in. So when you enter the library, the default PSE topic area will be farmers market. And as you can see, the category defaults will also be all. So that means that when you first come into the library, you'll see all of the available resources for farmers market. So if for any reason you wanted to change the PSE topic area, let's say you wanted to see what's going on in healthy eating and childcare, you would just have to click on the topic area of choice from the select topic menu. So choosing a category will allow you to further sift through the larger list of resources in a given PSE topic area. So for today's walkthrough, we're going to be going through the farmers market resources to see what's in there. So as you can see, our resources are organized in alphabetical order. But let's say you wanted to further refine your search to find a certain type of resource. You would be able to use the search function and type for your given key term in the search resources field. So anything, resources rather, with that term in its title will pop up for you. So using our vendors from the Gateway 105 market, let's say one of the vendors mentions mentioned that it was his mission to educate community members about the produce he sells at his stand. As some of you already mentioned, a great way to educate your shoppers of new produce is to do food demonstrations. So let's say he was looking for a cookbook. If he searched for cookbook in the search resources field, he would find this resource called Farmers Market Cookbook on our page. And this might have helped him find different ways to help prepare interesting recipes at his stand to help his shoppers taste his produce. So as you see here, once you click on a link for a resource, the resource will pop up in another tab, which allows users to navigate the resource while keeping the PSE Ready library page open with your search results. So this guide would give you tips and things to consider when doing cooking demonstration at your farmer's market, and it also gives you some really great recipes that you can do that are quick and simple and also showcase the produce that you're trying to encourage your farmer's market attendees to buy. So let's say the vendor we met really liked the resource that he found. He thought it was a great cookbook and he wanted to save it for later. Well, with an account, you'd be able to bookmark this resource within the resource library. With an account, once you're logged in, you would see another icon. It would be a heart icon that would pop up, and you would be able to click that icon, which will allow you to save that resource for later. You would then be able to create your own PSE resource library over time by bookmarking different resources that you found helpful in your work. And then you'd be able to access this list later on by going back to the main menu, clicking on My Accounts, and then my bookmarks, and we'll walk through that later on. Let's say the vendor wanted to share his resource with other farmers market vendors because he thought that it was a great way to engage his shoppers at his market, and he wanted to share it with others that might have the same problems engaging shoppers at their market. So we created PSEReadi.org with many options for directly sharing resources and information through the website by using different social media websites such as Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. As you can see, we have different buttons on the bottom. If you were to click on any of those icons, it would open up into a separate tab into your social media account, allowing you to customize your message that you want to send out over your platform of choice. The resource URL will also be pre-populated in that text field, so you wouldn't have to then go back and add that information. So as we all know, social media is a quick and easy way to share useful information and resources, especially with colleagues that might be doing the same work that you're doing. But what if your contacts don't use social media? We also have the option to allow users to email their resources directly to their contacts through the website. So your contact would have the resource name, your contact will get the resource name and link embedded in the email that they receive. So all you have to do is click on that envelope icon, you would see this pop up, and then you can add your information accordingly, and it'll directly send that URL and that resource title to your contact. So I'm sure that many of you have found resources you found valuable in your work. If you think you have one that would make a great addition to our library, you can always send your recommendations directly through the PSEReadi.org website by using our Suggest a Resource option. So you would click on Submission Form, at the top of the PSE resource library page, another pop-up will appear, and then you would simply click, fill out the information that's requested of you in regards to the resource that you're recommending. And that resource recommendation would be sent directly to the BCOP team at Case Western to consider, because we're always continuously updating our library, and it's always nice to get different resources that are available out there suggested to us to consider for the library.
So as we go ahead and continue with the webinar, we just want to make sure that if you all have any questions so far, that you are sending them in to us. Again, just making sure that you're sending it to all the panelists and attendees, because you never know if your colleague has the same question that you might have. So just keeping that in mind, and we're going to let Karen, continue.
So as we all know, PSE work can be challenging sometimes, and sometimes you feel like you're the only one having the struggles that you're having implementing the programs that you're trying to carry out, or you're not sure if your efforts are big enough to make real change in your communities. So we created the PSEs in Action video series to help inspire and encourage practitioners doing PSE work. Accessing these videos, you'll be able to hear stories from different community nutrition practitioners and community members doing PSE work in communities across Ohio. To access this video series, we're going to click on the PSEs in Action link in the top banner. So this is a landing page for all of the PSE in Action video series. And as you can see, each PSE topic area has their own case study playlist. And as we mentioned before, it features real community nutrition practitioners in Ohio sharing their successes and challenges as they assess, plan, and act to implement their PSE's programs. Each topic area has a playlist that, as you see here, and as we met our farmers market vendors before, you'd find that in the farmers market playlist. So after today's training, if you didn't get a chance to watch the video, we strongly encourage you to do so, and also check the other videos out that are in the PSE in Action case study playlists. Now we're going to explore the policies, systems, and environmental readiness assessment and decision instrument, also known as the PSE READI. This online tool will help you figure out the level of readiness and capacity to carry out community nutrition PSEs in your area. Taking the PSE READI allows you to get a tailored report with 3 recommendations for your immediate next steps to take in your PSE planning. So today we're going to walk through the individual assessment for the farmers markets. So going back to our case study video, let's say the Gateway 105 farmers market manager wanted to assess the current capacity to recruit new vendors in their market. So they would be able to take an individual assessment to measure their capacity to successfully recruit and to add more vendors to the market. So to take the assessment, you would click on My Account in the toolbar from the landing page. So if you haven't already done so, you would log into your account, or you would create an account at this point in order to further access the PSE READI tools. Okay, great. So we're going to go back to My Account, and here you'll be able to see the dashboard for the main account page. So as you can see here, we have different subtabs below the main menu toolbar. So we're currently in My Assessments, and this is where we have the PSE READI tools in the 4 PSE topic areas. If you clicked on My Bookmarks, you'd be able to see the different resources that you've bookmarked. As we didn't log in before, we currently don't have any resources, but let's say you went back and you favorited a resource, you'd be able to find it here later on for your future use. In the event that you need to update any information in your profile, let's say you need to change your password, or maybe you need to change the county in which you do your work, you would go to My Profile. So to walk through an individual assessment, we're going to navigate back to My Assessments, and then we're going to choose Click to Start to begin our PSE Ready of choice. And today it will be Farmers Market. So this is an example of what each assessment page will look like regardless of the topic area that you're taking the PSE Ready for. So the purpose of each PSE Ready is to assess only one specific county, area, zip code where you're doing your current work. So it's really important to think about one specific area when taking your assessment in order to get the most tailored recommendations and resources that will help guide your work in that particular environment. And I mention that because I know that some of you might work in different environments and in different areas, in several areas rather. And so it's really important to think only of one topic or one area in which you're doing your work in order to get the tailored responses that you would need to further guide your PSE efforts. So first, you think of the county where you or the practitioners you support typically work. So in our case study video, the Gateway 105 Farmers Market vendors may define their area by county, so we would choose Cuyahoga since they're in Cleveland. Next, you think about the service area where you or those you support work in. So PSEReadi.org was created in order to allow you to define the area as you best see fit. So it might be a census tract that you work in, it might be a zip code, a certain city or town or school district. You'd be able to determine that depending on what's appropriate for your circumstances. And so based on our video, we're going to type Cleveland, since that's where we found our Gateway 105 Farmers Market. Finally, we recommend that you name your PSE something meaningful that will help you remember the purpose of your assessment. So perhaps the manager may name their PSE Ready Gateway 105 Farmers Market and then the date that they took the assessment. It's always recommended to put the date that you started the assessment because that might not be the date that you actually complete the assessment, and we'll walk through that a little bit later on. So as we all know, PSE journeys are all different depending on your level of capacity and what you're doing in your community and what the circumstances are. And we know that they can happen alone or with a group of people. Sometimes you begin your PSE work on your own and then decide later on to collaborate down the line with others that are doing similar efforts. So PSEReadi.org was created with that in mind to allow practitioners to have the flexibility to decide how to assess their work and with whom to assess it with. So to help you decide, we've created a decision tree that will allow you to figure out whether you want to take the assessment as an individual or whether you want to take it on a team. So for today's assessment, we're going to click that we want to take it as an individual. So although our webinar series are focused on the individual assessments, we will be planning future trainings around the team assessments, which is the option to take the PSE Ready with a group of people. So please stay tuned for that. So after clicking submit, you're going to see this page, and this is what each assessment will look like, regardless of the PSE topic area. However, the instructions at the top will be tailored to that particular PSE topic area to help you decide how to respond to the questions. So as you can see, there are several different answer choices that you can choose, including a don't know and a not applicable option. So don't know would be best utilized if you aren't sure if a question pertains to your line of work. And not applicable should be used if you definitely know a question does not fit what you do in your work. So we recommend that when you're taking your PSE Ready, to get the most tailored and helpful response, or helpful report rather, we recommend that you use these responses sparingly. So we really encourage you to take as much time as you need to finish the assessment. As I mentioned before, you don't necessarily need to finish the assessment in one sitting. Perhaps there's a question that you might have to consult someone else about to help you best choose the right answer that pertains to your work. but you do want to choose don't know and not applicable sparingly so you can get the most tailored report that you possibly can to guide your work. So as you see, you can see some of the questions are broken up into different topic areas, such as sustainability and community perceptions. And they'll ask you questions such as, are there agricultural development programs in your service area that are aimed at increasing the number of fruit and vegetable vendors at local farmers markets? Or are the prices at local farmers markets comparable to prices at local supermarkets? There are questions about community perception. How do the community members see your farmers market? Will they use the farmers market that's in the community? Do they feel like they're able to access the fruits and vegetables and produce that they would be able to access at a farmers market, or rather a local grocery store? And logistical factors. So as you can see, the PSE Ready does assess many different types of issues that you might encounter in your work to give you the most tailored response. So after you click Save and Finish, you're going to get an immediate response. It is very key, though, that you answer every single question, because without doing so, you won't get your report generated. So we will walk through this, this report later on, and Jennifer will show you how to use this report that's generated in order to guide your next steps in your work. So as we're covering many details of PSEReadi.org today, you may have some questions that come up after the webinar. So we're going to navigate to the FAQ section, where you can find more information on the development of the PSE Ready tools, how to create an account, how to take the PSE as an individual and on a team, and the types of information that you'd be able to get from your report.
So now we're going to actually do a quick poll before we go into the review of the report. So let me go ahead and pull that up very quickly. So over the next minute, can you give us an idea of the types of partners that you work with your farmers market PSE initiatives? And again, if you see that there is someone that you, if you actually don't see someone that you know you work with in your PSE initiatives, just share that in the chat feature and we'll all be able to see that, both the panelists and the attendees. All right, we're going to give you about another 5 seconds.
So we see that some attendees are saying that, so for the poll, you're only allowed to pick one partner, but you can share the different partners that you would have selected. So if you like, you can share that with us in the chat feature. And please remember to click all panelists and attendees so that we can all see your responses.
Okay, so first I want to thank Karen for giving us a detailed overview of the websites and the resources that are available to, again, develop, implement, and sustain successful farmers markets initiatives. Now we're going to go ahead and review the tailored report that was immediately generated as we completed our assessment. By doing so, we're going to go back to our landing page, which again is the starting point of the BCOP project. Next, we're going to go back to my account, which will allow us to access our completed assessments. And from the list, you will see a couple of different options that you have. And from my list, it's kind of all over the place. So under the completed column, you will see that you have the option of something called pending, meaning that you've created an assessment profile, but did not answer any of the questions just yet. You'll see that you may have started an assessment and that needs to be finished. And lastly, if you see the date, which we see for today's date, this means that you have finished and submitted the assessment on that particular date. Again, Karen mentioned that when naming your PSE assessment, you want to be sure to include the date because it will indicate when you actually started, but that may not always be reflective of when you completed. From this list, you can also see that you have a couple of different options. You can retake an assessment, which will lead to the 3-step process to name and start a new assessment. You can share the report with your colleagues, or you can view the report, which we'll do very quickly. Now, each report is going to be personalized and again, generated immediately after you click submit. You'll see the name of the assessment, the email that's associated with your account, and the date of completion, all populated at the top of each report. You can either share this document with colleagues or print it out using the icons on the right. So we're going to go ahead and look at the 2 sections that we have in our report. First, starting with the recommendation. This is the actual recommendation that you're going to receive and given advice on where to begin or continue your work in your PSE area of focus. It's going to have a related list of resources and their page numbers are often referenced in the actual recommendation and can be opened at your leisure, similarly as you saw in the resource library. In addition to the tailored recommendation in the report, you will receive a detailed profile for the county in which your target area or community lies. By clicking on the profile that you would like to see from the collapsed list, you can use the data to highlight areas of strength or identify challenges that you may want to consider with your stakeholders when planning PSEs. And you can also use it in grant writing and further work plan development. In addition to the data itself that we were able to provide for you, there are also the references for those data that you can use to further explore additional county and state level data. So that was a really quick review of our reports, but we definitely encourage you to take your time and look over the reports and kind of see how you would like to best use that information. So from our website and all that it can be used for, we want to go ahead and really review our key features, which are really going to be our resources. So that's going to include the library and the PSE in action videos that may help you generate new ideas. The PSE Ready assessment is going to help you determine the starting point for your PSE programs. The reports are really going to help guide your decisions on those PSE plans and help put those plans into action. And collectively, these features will help you assess your readiness and capacity to change, to plan programs and interventions, and most importantly, be active to implement them in your community. So you may be asking yourself, what do I do next? Over the next week, we encourage you to continue exploring the website and become familiar with its features. Share 1 to 3 resources within your networks of colleagues. Take an individual assessment and review the report and share it with your colleagues. Not only by going through these steps, you'll be able to exercise your brain, or train your brain really, to begin to use the PSE Ready website regularly and build your confidence in your ability to actually implement the PSEs. So similar to our previous webinars, we would now like to invite our guest speaker to share a little bit about her experiences in implementing farmers market PSEs and highlight some great resources that you can use if you're anywhere along your PSE journey. So many of you may know Anna Bird of Produce Perks Midwest. From her position as the statewide program manager, she comes with a lot of knowledge and experiences, and Anna is going to, again, highlight those experiences with you all today. And again, if you have any questions, either of ourselves or of Anna, we want to encourage you to send those in through either the Q&A feature or the chat box. Anna, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Our attendees are ready to hear about your work with farmers market PSEs and your ability to highlight some of the resources that you found on our website.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. I've been listening to the presentation, and I'm just really excited about this resource. I think, my background is, I'm working with Produce Perks now, which is Ohio's nutrition incentive program, but I've also been a market manager previously. And, sifting through Google to find all of these resources for farmers markets can be done, but it takes a lot of time, right? So I think both sort of the customizable features of the website are a fantastic resource, but also just the vast number of like resources in one place is really useful. So for those of you who don't know, Produce Perks, like I said, is Ohio's nutrition incentive program. It's been operational, our nutrition incentive program has been operational in Ohio since 2009. But in the last couple of years, we've been able to combine multiple incentive programs together across the state. We've all come under the same name as Produce Perks, and we've really been able to expand programming throughout the state due to a USDA nutrition incentive program grant that we received in July. So I did notice that a lot of folks are pursuing incentive programs this year as the PSE that you mentioned in the poll, or else setting up SNAP. So I encourage you to reach out if we're not already connected, to reach out to me. We have room for more markets in the program this year, and also a lot of resources for folks who are setting up SNAP for the first time, or some help through that process, and because it is a process. So Produce Perks offers a dollar for dollar match to SNAP consumers when they shop at participating farmers markets. And our matching dollars can be used only on fresh fruits and vegetables. So our program is designed to increase affordability of those products for SNAP consumers, which, we know that good food, unfortunately, is more expensive. So affordability is important to us. It also redirects SNAP dollars into local economy. So we're taking, those federal SNAP dollars that people are receiving and inviting them to spend them at the farmer's market, at the local grocery store. And so in that vein, we're also supporting Ohio's farmers as well, and local business owners. In 2019, we'll be at over 100 CSAs, farmers markets, farm stands, and mobile markets. And then we've also been expanding into some locally owned grocery stores, and we'll be in at least probably 15 across the state as well. So definitely hit me up if you've got more questions about the program. So, Produce Perks as an intervention, we can work with a farmer's market to kind of implement a system that's pretty much ready to go. So we've got data collection software, we have a lot of resources, we have the infrastructure pieces, sort of the guidelines, right, for how to implement this intervention. But what we've noticed is that it doesn't always happen that you build it and people will come, right? So that's where I think that these resources that, I chose to highlight come in. So a lot of markets are really interested in creating an atmosphere that's welcoming for SNAP consumers at the market, and offering nutrition education at the market, which a lot of markets just want to do, or they might have community grants that are requiring that. So the two resources that I chose, and I don't know, are we going to actually pull them up to review or invite people to?
So Anna, we will, just in the interest of time, we won't pull them up right now, but in a follow-up email, I'll make sure to include the links for the food demo guide and then the website for the recipes.
Excellent. So the two that I chose are around offering nutrition education at the farmers market, which sometimes can be tricky. So the Arizona Nutrition Network produced a really great food demonstration guide that I think could be useful to markets. It's got checklists, it's got things to consider that I even hadn't really thought of. And even though it's not Ohio specific, there's some really great pieces of information in there. And then the other one, I was sifting through the resources, and I was like, oh, Union County here in Ohio, the health department there has produced recipes for multiple years that can be printed and provided to customers. And so that's really exciting because, and we've partnered with them. I didn't even know that they had this there, but it's exciting because that's Ohio specific, right? So it's working with vegetables that we know farmers are going to have. So those are two resources that I think could be useful to folks this year. I don't know, do you want me to kind of stop there and leave time for questions?
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and first, thank you so much for joining us and kind of giving a brief background on the Produce Perks program and kind of how that program can help our attendees with their work in implementing farmers market PSEs. We really hope that by Anna coming on and someone kind of being in the trenches, not only in her current position as statewide manager, but also having that experience as being our market manager, like understanding the challenges that some of you all may be going through. And this is really to, again, help boost your confidence to get out there and either start or revamp your PSE interventions. Before we transition to our Q&A session, we would like to ask you a quick question, and it's going to be through our chat box. And we want to know, okay, so just really quick, we would like to know what is one word that you all would like to share about how you feel after today's training. We're going to give about 30 seconds to do so. And someone's already on it. Someone said that they feel prepared. This is just a good way to kind of spread the positivity and spread inspiration. So someone says that they are feeling inspired by today's training. Attainable, able. Someone is still curious about, quite possibly how to best use the PSE Ready tool. Energized, excited. I saw that someone was ready for summer, intrigued, motivated. Ooh, someone got very specific with it and said that they are ready to take their assessment for Franklin County. So that's really awesome. Okay, that's great that we can see that today's training gave you all a better idea of what all is available. So we're going to allow you to continue sending in these really inspirational and encouraging words, but also if there are any questions that you have for ourselves here at CASE with BCOP or directly for Anna, please go ahead and send those in. In the meantime, we're going to quickly go over some questions that have been previously asked in other trainings. So you may be asking yourself how often you should take an assessment. Well, you can retake the PSE Ready every 6 months whenever you feel like you have made some progress in your work or that you've made some changes in your PSE programming. By doing this, you will be assessing your work at its current stage or phase, and you'll be able to get those new and tailored recommendations to help further you in your work. If at any point you might ask yourself, hey, I'm not able to open this resource that I really like from the resource library, there are some steps that you can take to let us know about that. And because our resources are all web-based, there actually may be times where the links are broken for resources, or the recommendation, or excuse me, the organization that was hosting the resource may relocate it on their website. We don't want you to worry because as Karen mentioned previously, we are constantly updating the resources on our website to be available to you. And we do that through a resource library review. If at any time you do find that a link no longer works, you can always email us with the resource information and send that to our email address at bcop@case.edu, and that will really help us with this process of getting that resource updated or replaced immediately. Some of you, I know that you may not necessarily have all of the experience that you may want to have in farmers markets or any of the other PSE areas. So you may be asking, can you take an assessment in a PSE area where you have little or no experience? This is absolutely, and this is really what the PSE Ready was created for. It's to assess users such as yourself where they are or where you are in your PSE work. Prior experience is not necessary in order to take the assessment. Your report, which again is going to be unique and tailored to your experiences and your responses, will reflect this and give you the immediate first steps to take in planning efforts. So lastly, what we have seen from previous trainings, is how often are the state and county level resources updated. We really try to make sure we update this information annually as part of our overall resource maintenance and review process. But again, by going to the references that are listed at the bottom of the report page, you're able to get that real-time data to use again in any planning efforts that you have, again to use in really important grant applications that you're going to be sending out to implement your PSEs. So we're going to pause for a second and allow you all to send in any last minute questions via our chat or Q&A feature. Just to let you know, if you come up with a question as soon as we end the webinar, not to worry, because you can always send us that question at our bcop@case.edu account, and we will get that answer for you. We've also included Anna's email address in that follow-up email so that you will be able to contact her directly if you have any questions about how to implement something at your farmer's market, quite possibly walk through a challenge that you're having, or of course learn more about the Produce Perks Midwest program. All right. So from your great sharing of that one word of being inspired and informed, we see that we don't have any questions right now, but again, let us know if you do later on. We want to thank you all for not only joining this webinar, but through the last couple of months, we've seen a repeat of our attendees. So we want to say thank you to those who have really enjoyed us and joined us for this series. We look forward to you visiting the psereadi.org site to put what you've learned from this webinar series into action. And that means taking an assessment, using our extensive resource library to achieve success and address the challenges related to all 4 of the PSE areas. And we really are excited to see that work come out in the coming months and years. We would also like to invite you to learn more about farmers market work, specifically with the statewide ambassador training program from our Fresh Link colleagues in their project. We will be sure to send this flyer out for this great event that's going to happen later on this month. And again, in that follow-up email, you will receive a flyer for that. Please be sure to help us improve our future PSE Ready webinars and trainings by taking 5 minutes to complete the post survey. Don't close your Zoom portal because the survey will open automatically after the conclusion of the webinar. We're going to go ahead and, of course, acknowledge our BCOP project funders. And if you aren't sick of me saying it already, contact us at bcop@case.edu if you have any questions. Remember that the webinar is being recorded and will be accessible in the near future on our website. And we want to thank you again for not only joining us for this webinar on farmers market, but also joining us for our 4-part webinar series. Thank you again, and we hope you have a great day.